You know that feeling, right? You look over at one of your houseplants, and you just get this little knot in your stomach. Something's off. We've all been there. But what if I told you that those sad-looking leaves aren't a sign that you failed, but actually a message? Today, we're going to learn how to speak fluent plant.
It usually starts small. Maybe a leaf isn't as shiny as it used to be, or it's drooping just a little bit. It's that subtle change that catches your eye and makes you think, my little green buddy doesn't seem so happy today.
And then, almost immediately, this question pops into your head. It's what we all ask, right? We stare at the plant, and the first thing we do is blame ourselves. We must have messed up somehow. But what if it's not about blame at all?
That's the secret. Every single yellow spot, every curled edge, every droopy stem, it's a form of communication. Your plant is telling you exactly what it needs. We just have to learn how to read the signs. And luckily, the signs are written right there on the leaves.
So, where do we even begin? Well, we start with the #1 cause of pretty much all houseplant problems, watering. I'm not kidding, if you can get this one thing right, you've solved like 80% of your plant care worries.
Let's talk about the classic sign that sends every plant owner into a panic, the yellow leaf. You see that vibrant green start to fade to a sickly yellow, and your mind immediately jumps to some horrible disease or pest infestation. But the real answer is usually way, way simpler.
Yep, overwatering. It's totally counterintuitive, I know. Our first instinct is to see a sad plant and give it more water. But a yellow leaf is basically your plant holding up a giant sign that says, I'm drowning. When the soil is soaked all the time, the roots can't get any oxygen and they literally start to rot. Once that happens, the plant can't drink up nutrients, and that's why the leaves turn yellow.
So, how do you fix it? The solution is so easy and it is absolutely foolproof. It's called the finger test. Before you even reach for that watering can, just stick your finger about an inch down into the soil. If you feel any dampness at all, just wait. Put the can down and walk away. It's always, always safer to let a plant get a little too dry than a little too wet.
All right, on to the next major signal, the dramatic droop. One day your plant is perky, the next it looks like it's completely given up on life. Now, this one is a bit of a curveball, because unlike yellow leaves, this can mean one of two completely opposite things.
So how do you know which it is? Simple. Check the soil. The soil is the ultimate clue. If your plant is drooping and the soil is bone dry, well, it's thirsty. Its cells need water. But, and this is key, if it's drooping and the soil is soggy and wet, that's actually a sign of overwatering again. The roots are damaged and can't absorb water, even though they're sitting in it. So always check the soil first.
So let's just recap really fast. Yellow leaves, you're probably overwatering. Droopy leaves, check the soil to figure out if it's too wet or too dry. That simple checkup can solve so many issues. Now that we've got a handle on water, let's move on to the second biggest deal for a happy plant.
Okay, after water, the next biggest thing affecting your plant's health is its home. Is it in the right spot? It's not just about getting some light, it's about getting the right kind of light, and even being in the right temperature. And your plant gives you really clear signs here. If you notice, the leaves are curling inward, almost like they're trying to shield themselves. That's basically a plant sunburn. It's getting way too much harsh, direct sun. On the flip side, if that beautiful deep green color is starting to look all washed out and pale, your plant is starving for light and can't make enough chlorophyll to feed itself.
Now here's a signal that can really make your heart drop. You walk past your plant and you see these dark, mushy, almost black spots on the leaves. It looks bad, and it usually seems to show up out of nowhere.
9 times out of 10, this is cold damage. You gotta remember, most of our houseplants are tropical. They hate a sudden chill. So that drafty window in the winter, or that air conditioning vent blasting cold air on it all summer, it can actually cause the cells in the leaves to freeze and die. The fix is as simple as it sounds. Just move it to a cozier spot.
Okay, so we've got water and light down. Those are the big two. Now let's do a little quick-fire round to cover a few other common signals you might see that have to do with pests, food, and even the air quality. Let's run through these. See a bunch of tiny little yellow dots on a leaf? Maybe some super fine webbing on the underside? That's spider mites. Is your plant still putting out new leaves, but they're way smaller than the older ones? It's probably hungry and needs some fertilizer. And what about those super common brown, crispy tips on the edges of the leaves? That's almost always a sign that the air is too dry or there's a buildup of minerals from your tap water. We've talked about a lot of problems and fixes, but honestly,
The single most important part of good plant care isn't a specific trick. It's about changing your mindset. It's about aiming for patience, not perfection.
Let me give you the perfect example. What about the signal that causes the most panic? You bring a beautiful new plant home, or you move an old one to a new spot, and all of a sudden it starts dropping leaves everywhere. It feels like a complete catastrophe.
But here's the secret. It's not dying. It's just adapting. Plants are incredibly smart. When you move them to a new place with different light and humidity, they know the old leaves aren't suited for this new spot. So they drop them to save energy to grow new leaves that are perfect for the new environment. The absolute best thing you can do is just leave it alone. Give it time and stability.
And that really is the main takeaway here. Trying to have a perfect, flawless plant with no brown spots is just going to stress you out. The real success and the real joy comes from just paying attention, from watching your plant, noticing the little changes, and understanding the story it's trying to tell you.
So, the next time you walk by your plants, don't just glance at them. Really look. Read the leaves. Now that you know the language, what is your plant trying to tell you today?